I'm sitting here. I just opened up my Bible to the first book of Samuel, chapter 1. Just listen to this. Now there was a certain man of, and here's a long name, I'm not going to name that town, of Mount Ephraim, and his name was Elkanah, the son of Jeroham, the son of Elihu, the son of Tohu, the son of Zuph, and Ephrathite. Hey, I don't claim to know all these words, but I spit them out anyway. And he had 2 wives. The name of the one was Hannah, and the name of the other was Peninnah. And Peninnah had children, but Hannah had no children. And this man went up out of his city yearly to worship and to sacrifice unto the Lord of hosts in Shiloh. That was the city of God at that time. And the 2 sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, the priests of the Lord, were there. Eli was the main priest, and he had 2 sons, Hophni and Phinehas. And when the time was that Elkanah offered, he gave to Peninnah his wife, and to all her sons and her daughters portions. But unto Hannah he gave a worthy portion, in other words, a little more. She was barren. For he loved Hannah, but the Lord had shut up her womb. The Lord had shut up her womb. She didn't have any kids. Now, it doesn't say right here why this happened, but as you read what happened further on in the book, you'll see what became of it. I don't have time to read all of that stuff. It's too much, but you got to get a grip on this front here. And her adversary also provoked her sore, for to make her fret, because the Lord had shut up her womb. That was Satan. Satan was bugging her about this. And as he did so year by year, when she went up to the house of the Lord, so she provoked her. Therefore she wept and did not eat. The lady that had all the kids, she was teasing Hannah. Then said Elkanah, her husband, to her, Hannah, why weepest thou? And why eatest thou not? And why is thy heart grieved? Am not I better to thee than 10 sons? Oh, to the woman, some women want to have kids. So Hannah rose up after they had eaten in Shiloh, and after they had drunk. Now Eli the priest sat upon a seat by a post of the temple of the Lord. And she was in bitterness of soul, and prayed unto the Lord, and wept sore. Now I'm going to take a little bit of water here. I'm going to do a Marco Rubio, because I got a sore throat. I don't want to be coughing. Let's see if that fixes it. Hannah went to ask God about this. And she vowed a vow and said, O Lord of hosts, if thou wilt indeed look on the affliction of thine handmaid, and remember me, and not forget thine handmaid, but wilt give unto thine handmaid a man-child, she's asking for a son, then I will give him unto the Lord all the days of his life, and there shall no razor come upon his head. Oh, man, wish I had time to read this whole book, but I'll see if I can get a bunch of it in here. And it came to pass, as she continued praying before the Lord, that Eli Is the chief priest, the head guy, mocked her mouth. In other words, he was watching her. Now Hannah, she spake in her heart. Only her lips moved, but her voice was not heard. She was whispering to herself and to her God. She wasn't shouting from the rooftops. She was, in a manner of speaking, she had entered into her closet and she was talking to God. Therefore, Eli thought she had been drunken. He thought maybe she was drunk. And Eli said unto her, How long wilt thou be drunken? Put away thy wine from thee. And Hannah answered and said, No, my Lord. Now she knew who Eli was. I am a woman of a sorrowful spirit. I have drunk neither wine nor strong drink, but have poured out my soul before the Lord. Count not thine handmaid for a daughter of Belial, the devil. For out of the abundance of my complaint and grief have I spoken hitherto. Then Eli answered and said, Go in peace, and the God of Israel grant thee thy petition that thou hast asked of him. This is the high priest of God. He answered for God. God used Eli's mouth to answer her prayer, right to her face, man. This can happen to you. I've said it before. God is a rewarder of those who diligently seek him. She was diligently seeking God. And she said, Let thine handmaid find grace in thy sight. So the woman went her way and did eat, and her countenance was no more sad. She believed Eli. She got the answer she wanted right there. Check this out. And they rose up in the morning early and worshipped before the Lord, and returned and came to their house to Ramah. And Elkanah knew Hannah his wife, and the Lord remembered her. In other words, her husband came into her, and they made whoopee. Check it out. She got pregnant. Wherefore it came to pass, when the time was come about after Hannah had conceived, that she bare a son and called his name Samuel. You ever hear of Samuel in the book? Saying, Because I have asked him of the Lord. And the man Elkanah, that's her husband, and all his house went up to offer unto the Lord the yearly sacrifice and his vow. But Hannah went not up, for she said unto her husband, I will not go up until the child be weaned, and then I will bring him, that he may appear before the Lord, and there abide forever. I got a few more minutes here. And Elkanah, her husband, said unto her, Do what seemeth thee good. Tarry until thou have weaned him. Only the Lord establish his word. So the woman abode, she stayed there, and gave her son suck until she weaned him. And when she had weaned him, she took him up with her with 3 bowls, and 1 ephah of flour, and a bottle of wine, and brought him unto the house of the Lord in Shiloh. And the child was young. And they slew a bullock, and brought the child to Eli. He was the high priest. And she said, O my Lord, as thy soul liveth, my Lord, I am the woman that stood by thee here, praying unto the Lord. For this child I prayed, and the Lord hath given me my petition, which I asked of him. Therefore also I have lent him to the Lord. As long as he liveth, he shall be lent to the Lord. and he worshipped the Lord there. And Hannah prayed and said, My heart rejoiceth in the Lord. Mine horn is exalted in the Lord. My mouth is enlarged over mine enemies, because I rejoice in thy salvation. There is none holy as the Lord, for there is none beside thee, neither is there any rock like our God. This is Hannah talking about God, man. There, talk no more so exceeding proudly. Let not arrogancy come out of your mouth, for the Lord is a God of knowledge, and by him actions are weighed. I reckon she's talking to her son. The bows of the mighty men are broken, and they that stumbled are girded with strength. Oh my. I really don't want to read all that stuff. But check this out. She gave her son to be a servant in the house of God. And he ministered to Eli. Now let's see, Samuel's ministry. I got all kinds of time here to just look, you know. Now Samuel had a vision. God was calling him, and he didn't understand what was going on. In chapter 3, and the child Samuel ministered unto the Lord before Eli, and the word of the Lord was precious in those days. There was no open vision. There was a length of time in Israel's life. I'm talking about the people Israel, the Jews, etc. But God just couldn't be found because there was a lot of crap going on. There were people bowing the knee to Baal. And even here in this ministry, Eli's sons, Hophni and Phinehas, they were crooked. They were crooked. They must have been Democrats. And it came to pass at that time, when Eli was laid down in his place, he was in bed, and his eyes began to wax dim, that he could not see. And ere the lamp of God went out in the temple of the Lord, where the ark of God was, and Samuel was laid down to sleep. I guess it was nighttime and they're taking a nap, time to go to bed. That the Lord called Samuel, and he answered, Here am I. Here's Samuel, laying down in his bed to go to bed, and someone's calling to him. And he thought it was Eli. Oh, I'm getting close to where I got to cut this off. I'm going to cut this off. Then I'm going to come right back in the next segment. How about that? I'll be right back.